to continue with the panel 2 in a minute right now. Is everyone here for panel 2? Okay, here, right? Okay, so I'm just gonna announce the name. So the panel 2, the topic is going to be about competing chains. Can Bitcoin staking challenge Ethereum restaking? So the first one is from Bedrock core contributor Julian Shen. Invite you to the stage. The second panelist is Makoto from Pell Network, co-founder and COO. The third panelist is Karel Kubat from Union, founder from Union. And we also invite the moderator, Felix Luch, symbiotic head of ecosystem. Right, so we
He was just here, Karel, there he is.
Karel, please come to stage.
No worries, no worries.
All right, so take it away, guys.
Thanks so much. And yeah, thanks to Staking Rewards and Babylon for hosting this event. Really, really great turnout and great organization as always, as usual. I'm Felix, I'm the head of ecosystem at Symbiotic, and I'm today's moderator of this panel, talking about basically the different approaches to restaking in the Bitcoin and Ethereum ecosystem. Obviously, we all know restaking started basically on Ethereum. More or less shared security as a concept is even older than that, right? We have like Polkadot and various other approaches in the world before, and now also it's coming to Bitcoin. And I think there's like a lot of like interesting nuances given Bitcoin's design choices and just the differences in ecosystem. So hoping to clear up some of the things and figuring out, you know, how that will shape up and how you guys are approaching building in that space. And yeah, basically maybe we can start with a round of intros, starting with you, Julien.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Julian Chen. I'm a core contributor to Bedrock. So we have over 5 years of proof of stake node operation experience, and when Babylon came and we see this opportunity of bringing a sustainable staking yield to Bitcoin, so that's what get us excited, and hence we decided to do Bedrock. So we're trying to make Bitcoin better than gold. So that is to have it, a yield-bearing feature and can be used as an asset in DeFi, because that's something that makes Bitcoin go beyond just a storage of value. Yeah. So, yep, great to be here.
Hi everyone, this is Makoto. I'm the co-founder of Pale Network. What we do is actually Bitcoin restaking, and I think just adding to what Julian has mentioned, that Babylon has introduced really sustainable yield in terms of Bitcoin staking. And I think what we are trying to do here is to actually extend that value chain by allowing users to actually restake their BTC to actually help secure a different set of applications and distributed systems and to earn additional yield. And I think what we provide beyond yield opportunity is also utility for newly launched, developed, bootstrapping application systems to actually make this process of initial growth faster and more efficient. Very happy to be here to discuss with the rest of the panelists today.
Hello everyone, I'm Karel, founder of Union. At Union we do interoperability based on zero-knowledge cryptography. That means that we don't use multi-sigs, oracles, we don't add any third-party intermediaries. And with Bitcoin now having more of an application layer and potentially becoming way more modular, scaling out horizontally, the need for really fast and efficient bridging that does not need kind of the Web 2 muddy world is, I think, of the utmost importance.
Awesome, thanks so much for the intros. Maybe just to add also for me, with Symbiotic, we're building a shared security protocol based on Ethereum, but with a collateral abstraction that allows sort of multi-chain use cases. So also like very interested in kind of like how can we achieve like a cross-chain restaking market, also things that Carol is working on, so hopefully discussing that in a bit some more. I wanted to start basically from this point of talking a bit about proof of stake in the past, right? So we had a lot of proof of stake chains already generally using their native token for staking, and then now restaking emerging, and basically ETH being like the first one saying that, you know, reusing the ETH collateral and the validator set as something that's desirable and more secure and maybe cheaper in terms of security for bootstrapping new networks. So my first question is basically like to all of you, maybe we can start with Julian again, around, you know, what defines a good restaking collateral for you, and how do you see like Bitcoin fitting in there?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that's a great question. I would think, you know, first let's look at it, you know, the definition of restaking. So in this case, I'm not referring to being just economic security, but also, you know, some kind of a technological relationship towards another chain that has, you know, a strong consensus, right? So with that, I think the first question here is that, you know, okay, this is restaking. Definitely, we want an asset that is large enough to provide the sufficient economic security. And secondly, you know, we need to also dive deeper into that asset. You know, is this an asset that has any counterparty risk or any kind of systematic risk? So what I'm saying, what I mean by this is that if we just look at, you know, market cap, people can easily conclude, okay, let's use USDC or any stable coins as the most commonly used accepted restaking collateral. Does that make sense? Probably not, because, you know, so those are still, you know, based on, you know, custodies, and actually this is not a crypto native asset. So besides these 2 points, we could also look at, you know, there is also a little bit of ideological match, right? So is this an asset that, you know, is that matches the ideology of being restaking? Yeah, and definitely you don't want an asset that is like super fluctuating. That just adds another complexity in terms of managing that. Yeah, I'm just gonna stop here.
Yeah, then to Julian's point, I think for us, when we look at restaking collateral, the single most important factor is how strong and widely recognized is this asset. Because I think the whole premise of restaking to use a stronger asset to actually back a network that has inherently having a weaker asset lies in the fact that the relative difference in terms of value supports between the foreign asset and the native asset has to be large enough for any kind of applications or distributed system on the receiving end to make sense of using restaking. So I think after looking at, again, the whole cap table, I think in our case, nothing beats BTC in this aspect in terms of crypto native and recognized value over the past 15 years. But I think having said that, there is something else we probably want to consider is that what is the nuanced need of the application that is trying to draw this crypto economic security? Not every single application needs BTC or Ethereum to actually help back their security, because not every single application is mission critical. And I think as the collateral varies, the cost of actually getting this collateral also varies. So I think flexibility is something that we also need to start consider when more and more of the restaking vertical evolves.
Yeah, I think you guys have almost said everything I wanted to say. The one thing I'd like to add, because you kind of mentioned POS networks and protocols securing themselves with their own token, is that I think in general is not a great idea, theoretically. just because usually if the network gets hacked in some form or another through breach of its economic security, obviously the token price goes down, so the value that gets slashed is a lot less. And an attacker could potentially cover this with a short, obviously. Take out a short ahead of time, perform the attack, and actually recoup all of the slashed capital. So for most POS chains and other protocols out there, I think a dual staking solution is usually best, where you have indeed an asset which is not correlated at all and relatively stable in value. And I think out of all decentralized assets, everything is correlated to Bitcoin, but hopefully Bitcoin is not actually correlated to any other crypto asset out there. And so dual staking that is probably one of the most solid solutions out there.
Awesome, yeah, those points make a lot of sense. And I wanted to kind of take it from there. I think one of the core challenges, I would say, with Bitcoin restaking is, and generally with building on Bitcoin, is sort of the limited programmability of the Bitcoin protocol. So, we are seeing a new renaissance of builders and new approaches to potentially extending that, right? Like BitVM, but also still that's not there yet, to my knowledge. And I guess, how can we achieve it to actually use Bitcoin in a secure way for restaking? And I know, Makoto, that's kind of your bread and butter, I would say. So wanted to direct this question at you. Basically, how does that impact you, building a shared security protocol using Bitcoin, and kind of how do you tackle that?
Yeah, thanks for the question. I think if we sort of asked this question 6 months back, I wouldn't have an answer for it because there simply wasn't a solution available. But I think since the introduction of time lock or Bitcoin stamping and staking solution on Babylon, I think we basically have turned Bitcoin into a slashable asset. And I think that actually changed a lot of things because Bitcoin, yes, inherently has limited programmability, but for staking or restaking to work, I think if everything else, is out of consideration, the single most important feature is that the asset has to be slashable programmatically. And I think Babylon has already nicely solved that problem. But when we look at the current market landscape as of today, there are multiple Bitcoin LST or LRTs available in the market. And I think if we learn from our experience of staking and restaking in Ethereum, we see that actually leveraging on this asset makes it even easier to implement slashing, and also it helps to sort of provide the security and provide the yield for user in a more controlled risk profile. So for example, Pale actually works with Bedrock in this aspect that we allow users to actually deposit their UniBTC into Pale to actually enjoy the UniBTC yield as one layer, and then Pale actually provides the second layer of yield coming from restaking. And I think in the unfortunate event of having to effect a slashing, we actually will only need to do that on a UniBTC level. And I think our friends here at Bedrock will then sort of cascade this down to make sure that the native BTC will receive the corresponding effect or impact as well. So in our view, building this sort of ecosystem partnership allows us to actually bring up the slashability of BTC from the native level also to the LST, LRT level. That actually, I would say, no longer is a technical challenge now. So I think we have that problem solved today, and we're very much looking forward to what's next in the roadmap.
Yeah, so maybe to dial in a bit on that, basically UniBTC is also composed of other BTC assets, and I guess now you're using UniBTC in a alt VM environment, like on Ethereum or some L2, and the slashing for the ABSs happens there, and then the expectation is that the value of it trickles down, and the UniBTC holders basically have to unwrap potentially the real assets, or at least in some other form, make it so that the assets are actually slashed. Okay, cool. Okay, and the other approach was the time lock directly on Bitcoin from from Babylon. Does anyone want to add anything to like sort of this limited programmability and how they think about, I guess, also different BTC assets, different ways of bridging them, right? We are seeing new players emerge in this space, right? Like CB, BTC now, also TBTC obviously was around for a long time. And I guess, yeah, how do you think generally about these bridges and the different assets and their slashability and so on? Yeah, Carol, I see you taking the mic, so let's do it.
Yeah, I think overall we should stay honest with ourselves. Like the current solutions that we have for doing slashing, staking, locking, and such, we kind of market them as if we don't add any assumption on the BTC network, but we do actually add a third party. Like Babylon adds a third party, which is the validator set, which are needed for slashing. So it's not purely relying on Bitcoin and not a pure extension of it. And with a lot of the kind of current new BTC derivatives that we're exporting to the EVM stack, they are better than TBTC, I think, but they're still a form of an MPC wallet. And we still have a kind of foreign validator set that's necessary to do redemptions. I think the Bitcoin community itself needs to wonder if that is indeed the world that they want, and if they want to have all of their programmability offloaded to technically a foreign network and have those networks have that control, or if they want to extend Bitcoin itself and add more opcodes to script and start innovating there. From Union's perspective, we would love more innovation and programmability, because actually doing zero-knowledge proofs of Bitcoin is extremely trivial. Like you could very easily prove that a block has this many confirmations, for example. So the one-way bridge would work flawlessly. It's the way back for the redemptions that we need extended programmability to verify ZKPs on Bitcoin. And with a lot of the current tech that's out there, it's still very interactive. Or you might need to register the disputer or prover beforehand. So it's hard to decentralize these types of bridges. That's why with Union haven't tried it yet, because we don't think right now it's possible to actually do the perfect solution. And with the networks that we're integrating right now, we always try to go for kind of like the end state ZK bridge solution that you can do.
Right, that's very interesting. I guess, does anyone want to add anything to that? I think it's very interesting because I guess that this discussion then impacts like everything we're saying about Bitcoin as a collateral in restaking.
Yeah, so I think, so we think cross-chain bridges for Bitcoin is really crucial in this case because, first of all, I think it's a fact. Every single blockchain wants to get the Bitcoin asset, right? Because that just boosts up their TVL. This just brings in a new group of users. But, based on the limitation of current how Bitcoin works, we don't have a perfect solution. To allow it to be non-custodial but also programmable. So in that aspect, I think this is actually a defining year for Bitcoin to think about, okay, is Bitcoin going to be modularized, meaning that, okay, let's externalize certain functionalities and just let Bitcoin as a very strong consensus layer? Or, okay, do we want to internalize all those functionalities and look at, okay, whether OPCAD or BitVM or any other techniques can get Bitcoin to do all those things. So that's something I think we're still trying to see. But I'm more leaning towards more of a modular design for the whole Bitcoin ecosystem because that is just more elegant. And I think Bitcoin is just great as being the storage of value and stay as proof of work.
I agree with, from a technological perspective, that is very elegant, but then I want to echo the current Ethereum sentiment, where modularization led to the L2s actually taking the bigger share in value, right? And these new modular components starting to really own a large portion of the value, and it might not actually flow back into Bitcoin. I think the one big advantage, like if you want to answer the question, like can Bitcoin staking challenge Ethereum restaking? It seems to be that even though Ethereum has unquestionable technological superiority, somehow Bitcoin as an asset still remains better in stable value. So I don't think maybe the exact parallel will play out as it did with Ethereum, because apparently for some reason Bitcoin is not that dependent on how much fees it's earning or how much yield it's enabling, but it'll still stay the same value. But I do think the Bitcoin community should look at kind of their predecessors, Ethereum and Celestia, and see how modularization takes away some of your potential future sovereignty and value accrual.
Yeah, just want to add 2 points here. I think when it comes to the technical design of a solution, I think we are actually in a very exciting time when we are building on Bitcoin, because we see different school of thoughts, different implementation choices are sort of coming up. And I think there is no single right or wrong solution as to how we actually should build on Bitcoin. I think there are, of course, more native solutions like BitVM, OPCat. They're actually also, I would say, simpler, I would say more efficient solutions by just transplanting some of the Ethereum or Solana capabilities and build on top of Bitcoin. I don't think there is a direct relative superiority to any of these, because essentially it's a matter of how efficient the solution is versus how secure the solution is. And sometimes we actually have to go with a balance of both approach. Secondly, I think when it comes to restaking, in terms of Bitcoin staking challenge, ETH restaking, in my view, it's not really a competition here, but rather I think it really depends on what is the asset being staked or collateralized used for. And I think Bitcoin, again, having such a much larger market share should not only accommodate all of the existing Ethereum use cases, but also it has ample room for even more use cases, applications, and even experiments to be tried on.
If you don't think it's going to be a competition, like right now in the Ethereum space, we have an oversupply of assets for restaking and security, right? And we're looking for demand side to actually use that security and pay for this. So with Bitcoin staking and potentially restaking, we're only increasing that supply side, right? And still all fighting for the same products to actually use this and create demand. I do actually think it'll be a competition between the two assets, because we just have more supply and the same amount of demand.
Yeah, so I totally agree that there are probably more restaking protocols, and then the number of services are willing or capable of paying right now. Okay. Well, I guess first of all, it's a problem that could potentially be solved. At least we can say that, okay, in a marketplace, at least one side of the equation is already ready in the place. And I also want to touch about, I do think that Bitcoin's restaking and Ethereum restaking is going to have very different value propositions to different services. For example, I think layer ones probably are more comfortable to use the Bitcoin security or to use Bitcoin restaking, for the simple reason that they don't see Bitcoin as a competitor to them, because it does not have smart contract platforms, right? So they could even position themselves as the execution layer of Bitcoin. Whereas, Ethereum, I think, it's more on like different services or even like dApps who want to, have their own layer twos just to make it cheaper and more efficient. For example, actually the Cosmos ecosystem, we're probably gonna be more supportive towards Bitcoin restaking rather than getting aligned with Ethereum ecosystem. That's why I think there's always a ideological representations. Which kind of collateral that different chains or services would like to use.
All right, yeah, very, very interesting. I think I want to then stay on this demand side question a little bit, right? Because historically, I guess most of the innovation has come out of the Ethereum space. Like if you look at any DeFi protocol or the killer apps that crypto has produced so far, right? They are built on Ethereum first, and then mostly like copied on other alt VMs, and I guess potentially now copied on Bitcoin restaking platforms. Is this something you see changing, or is this like what's happening in Bitcoin, or do you see a new builder class emerging and more innovation coming from the Bitcoin ecosystem, sort of from your experience, or how do you see this progress? Because I guess the consequence would be if the innovation stays from Ethereum, then probably more of the demand side networks, new networks that consume the security will also be built there from my perspective. I guess that's also why we're building mostly on Ethereum. But yeah, curious to hear if that's something like from your observation of the ecosystem, or like just general thoughts, how you see that play out, since I guess it's a new renaissance for Bitcoin. Yeah. Anyone who wants to start, I guess. Yeah, maybe I could.
Yeah, sure. So I think it is not necessarily a bad thing that the current development of the Bitcoin ecosystem follows the footsteps of Ethereum. Actually, learning from the best is a great thing, right? Like, there's no need to be different for the sake of making to be different. So I think it is definitely a good thing for us to see even some of the existing established DeFi primitives are getting implemented on Bitcoin. But as we know, Bitcoin as a network has a very different construct from Ethereum. So the way, for example, even to implement a Bitcoin staking capability, a DEX on Bitcoin or lending protocol on Bitcoin, although the end result, the product that the users see may feel similar to what they use on Ethereum. But if you look at sort of how it is coded underneath and what are the hoops that had to be jumped through to achieve these results, actually takes a different set of effort altogether. So I think that itself is meaningful, valuable work that we see the builders are doing. And I think just going back a little bit on the demand side of things, if you look at Ethereum restaking, actually, for example, EigenLayer came after the DeFi summer has taken place already. So restaking actually makes most sense when you have a flourishing or flooding of new applications who are in their very early stage, trying to actually grow, trying to actually bootstrap. And we see actually in Ethereum a lot of these DeFi-related verticals are very much mature. Use cases actually have already reached a level of maturity that they may not actually need Ethereum to help protect their network security. But in Bitcoin ecosystem, we are seeing a lot of new applications coming out. And that actually to us is something exciting because that actually is a very good brewing ground for potential demand side for Bitcoin restaking services.
I think looking at tech being built on Bitcoin right now, even though I have to admire people capable of doing it, it is like building something with both hands tied behind your back. Like it is truly a painful experience, and there's no question that like you can build more advanced and better products on Ethereum much quicker. I think in this whole game of Bitcoin perhaps trying to catch up here, it's not something that Bitcoin should be doing, and instead lean in on the fact that yes, Ethereum will have more advanced products with potentially higher and riskier yields, but the fact that you can bring Bitcoin yield from 0 to 2%, 3%, and make sure that isn't lost periodically in massive hacks and such is already a massive advantage and allows you to compete with Ethereum restaking. If the Bitcoin community is willing to accept lower yields for the same security, they can provide much more security. And the protocol will be able to get 100 billion worth of economic security at the same price you can get 10 billion with EigenLayer. And that could be truly its edge. Just the prestige that Bitcoin gives and the fact that, I mean, the only thing that matters is stacking sets, right? Just acquiring more BTC in the end, even if it's smaller amounts. Well, on the Ethereum side, we have more true like UX innovation going on. The only other way for Bitcoin actually to catch up in this is truly accepting changes to the core protocol so that builders don't need to jump through these hoops anymore.
I believe there is going to be a different path for Bitcoin to evolve. Think about, you know, Ethereum has been a proof of stake for over 3 years now, right? So actually restaking for Ethereum happens 3 years after 3 years of education and awareness of staking. Right? And the first 2 years, after 2 years, the staking ratio of Ethereum was actually still less than below 20%. Right? But on the other hand, you know, Bitcoin actually started with restaking without any prior education. So I think that fact itself is already, you know, an indicator of, you know, how a different, you know, user readiness, awareness, and, you know, think about it. Okay, if for me, the gauge of, okay, who are the Bitcoin holders that are ready for restaking or DeFi is probably just gonna be the market cap of WBTC plus a little bit, right? So, and then the question will be, okay, so how do we go beyond that? How do we get, all those more conservative, inactive Bitcoin holders to try out those things? So that itself, might trigger a totally different types of use cases. Not just necessarily being, hey, it's great to get onto DEX, or hey, it's great to do lending, etc. So I don't have a clear idea here, but I just feel like all the indicators are showing that okay, this might be a different path.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you so much, guys. I think we have to wrap this up. I have to save my spicy question if Bitcoin is moving to proof of stake for another panel. But yeah, thanks so much for coming on, and thanks for hosting again Staking Rewards. Babylon.